What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 510 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's KB and Matt coming at you from Underground Studios. We will be back live next week, but no live show this week, but we're still putting the podcast out for you guys. It's not stopping. We're going to dive into a bunch of stuff around the Philadelphia 76ers, the Eagles, the Phillies, the Union, you name it, we're talking it, but before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI on Twitter, Instagram. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Leave a 5-star review. It does help the show continue to grow, helps more people find Underground Sports and all of the shows on our network. Be a friend, tell a friend to subscribe to the pod feed. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of every show on our network. You get clips, live streams, original content, any type of video. It's going on our YouTube channel. So go subscribe. We're at 388 subscribers right now. Trying to hit 400 by the end of February. So go subscribe and be a friend, tell a friend to smash that like button. Ring the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the content. And, of course, leave a comment down below on your thoughts on everything that Matt and I talk about on this episode. And make sure you guys go get your merch at PHI Apparel Company. They are our exclusive merch partner. They've got every single podcast on our network has merch at PHI Apparel Company. And they've got some of the best designs, if not the best, in the game for all of your favorite Philly sports teams. You're going to stand out when you go down to Citizens Bank Park this spring and summer. You're going to stand out when you're going to Subaru Park to go support the Union, at the Wells Fargo Center for the Sixers and Flyers, and, of course, when football season's back, down at the Link supporting the Birds. You guys can use code UNDERGROUND when you check out at phiapparel.co, and you get 10% off any and all orders. Doesn't matter if it's our merch or any of the designs on their website. But it is the most effective and direct way to support everything we're doing here is to buy merch. When you get it, tag us. Let us know where you're rocking your merch from. We want to see you guys rocking that. And PHI Apparel Company is going to be part of our live tailgate podcast series this baseball season. So big shout out to them for getting down with us and being our exclusive merch partner. But go get your merch, phiapparel.co. Use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all orders. What's going on, man?
Living the dream.
The Sixers, post All-Star break, getting ready to ramp back up. But, of course, no better way to bounce back from a championship loss than to have the first ever Sixers dunk contest champion than with Delaware Blue Coat, Mac McClung.
Yeah, signed him on that 10-day at the right time. There was some penny stocks, getting in early on the floor of Mac McClung, who was allergic to the floor, as you saw in the dunk contest. Yeah, we had joked that he's like the Sixers like TV timeout like dunkers that bring out the trampolines, except he doesn't need the trampoline. So it's cool to see him win the dunk contest. I'm going to be honest, did not watch a second of any of it this weekend.
Just watch the highlights.
I saw the highlights on Twitter. I was like, oh, that's cool. I would not waste 2.5 hours of my Saturday night to watch that. As a kid, I loved it. As an adult, and I think in general, All-Star, I think getting this realization, All-Star weekends in general just have no appeal to me anymore. I don't know what it is. It's every sport. It's not just the NBA, but even baseball, hockey, of course, is just sucks all around. Doesn't help that the Flyers are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The Pro Bowl is like not a thing. So, yeah, I just think All-Star games in general are not as engaging, not as exciting anymore.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I truly like tune in for when it comes to All-Star games is the home run derby, because that still has fun appeal to it. And unlike the dunk contest where everybody wants to see the big name guys compete and they just don't, the home run derby, it feels like every year 90% of the guys competing are like the faces of baseball that you want to see competing in the home run derby, so that makes it fun. But you're not alone in thinking that all-star games are on the decline, because according to Sports Media Watch at Paulson_SMW on the tweet machine, Sunday's NBA All-Star Game was the lowest rated and least watched edition of the game. Ratings declined 29% and viewership 27% from last year's All-Star Game. The record low audience places the NBA All-Star Game well behind this year's NFL Pro Bowl, and this year's declines are the steepest for the game since 2000.
Yeah, I mean, it's also there's like quite a few stars that were injured that got replaced, and quite a few guys didn't even like play during the game and sat out. So there's no incentive. You know, LeBron wasn't playing, right? Like Giannis like barely played. There's no KD. There's no Steph. Already, you know, those are like four of the biggest names in the sport right now, and you know that's where I think the issue rises. I just you're asking a lot of me to peel away 3 hours of my night to watch a game that ultimately the players don't care about,
especially
either.
On a Sunday night when it's starting at 8 Eastern time. Like nobody.
You know,
wants
we
that.
gotta like as East Coast people, we gotta really start taking back some of these goddamn sports start times, because like as I get older, like even a 7 o'clock start is dicey. Like, what do we do? Why cannot? Maybe I just have to move to like Mountain Time or something, because that's like
what I've heard the sweet spot is. But even so, like more than 50% of your viewing audience in the United States lives on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Why are we appealing to West Coast audiences who, one, quite frankly, are not as big of sports fans as the East Coast is, and two, half the time that you're starting these games, they're stuck in LA traffic anyway.
I guess the only thing is this was in Utah, so you know, like
That's fair.
That makes some kind of, but like yeah, like when it's in an East Coast event or even like Central Time like location and we're starting games, like it just sucks.
Like the finals,
the
this
Super
past
Bowl,
year.
the goddamn Super Bowl, which is like the biggest sports spectacle in America, started at 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
There's no godly reason that the NBA All-Star Game has to start at 8 o'clock. It's stupid.
And the fact that like we talked about it when it was happening, like last
I
year's
won't watch
NBA
anyway
finals.
though. I want to be very honest. I won't watch
Right.
anyway. But yeah, like the NBA finals are starting at like 9 o'clock.
Like, what is the point?
How am I ever meant to watch that? I'm not staying up till midnight on a Tuesday to watch this.
No.
I just don't. Maybe that's just a very much a me problem, but like I'm asleep by 10 o'clock at the latest. 10 o'clock is late for me.
We need to appeal to where the grander viewing audience is going to take. There's a reason that like when it comes to people wondering, especially like with baseball, it's like, oh, you never hear about Mike Trout because he's playing at 10 o'clock at night. Like nobody's watching that. They're watching the Sports Center highlights or, you know, social media highlights of what Mike Trout did. Pac-12 football and college football, only the sickos who are gambling on it are staying up until 2 a.m. to watch Washington State play Oregon. Like
Right.
Nobody cares when it comes to the West Coast stuff, because when they wake up, they'll see the stuff that actually matters.
Yeah, it's just I mean, just sports in general, I think are tough to just keep up with. Like as I've gotten older, it's like, you know, I used to watch just about everything, and then it whittles down slowly into just like smaller and smaller things. Cause I don't know, you just have so much time away. So I don't know how like leagues fix audience viewership going forward. I think this year is a little bit of an aberration because of all the injuries and all the sit-outs. Like I wouldn't say that's it, but I think All-Star games in general, there needs to be some sort of discussion about like the viability of them going forward, and like what it means. It sucks because, you know, it's tied to contracts, you know, like All-Star appearances, and it's even like a barometer that people are judged for when you talk about like Hall of Fame induction and things like that. So it's not an easy thing to navigate, but I find myself like literally just not good. That's like why when everyone was upset about Embiid not being as hard, I don't care about that. Like it's so hard to be like, he's still going to be an all-star.
Right.
And it's also like every year there's like 2 or 3 guys that get hurt or like don't play in the all-star game anyway. So like there's always some like, I love Larry Markkinen. He's an all-star starter. I'm going to tell you right now, I know who he is, but like I would bet you 70% of NBA fans, no clue. No clue.
Like I know who he is, and I totally forgot he plays for Utah.
Right. People will probably still associate him with the Bulls.
Yep.
Like or with like the Cavs. Like he's just not. I mean, whatever. So I just think that's Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler. He's not even a starting quarterback.
And
Like,
more interceptions and touchdowns.
it's just I think All-Star games in general it just has no point anymore. I actually think it'd be better if they went back to East versus West.
Yes.
I actually think that maybe that would help. But even then, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I have any intention of watching an All-Star game ever again in my life. Like, unless I go to one live.
Right.
And even then, you're gonna waste like $400 or $500 on a ticket to see an All-Star game where like no one cares. Like, no one is putting in effort. I can't tell you the last time that there was like a moment in an All-Star game, any All-Star game. What moments, what memory do you have of All-Star games? Nothing. I couldn't tell you a single thing. Outside of like the dunk contest and like a few home run derbies,
Yeah.
I could not actually tell you a single like memorable moment from any All-Star event across any sport ever. Like, I couldn't tell you a single thing that ever happened. The most recent notable thing I can remember is before Giannis signed his extension with Milwaukee, him and Steph were on the same team and they were like throwing lobs to each other. And I was like, oh, this is how the Warriors get. That was it, though. And that had nothing to do with the game itself.
Right.
Like, I don't know, man. I just think All-Star weekends in general are just not that interesting.
No. And I feel like it's become kind of like the Super Bowl has become. It's that corporate, the suits and ties show up to the All-Star game and the celebrities show up to the All-Star game because it's that big, cameras are everywhere type of thing. And that's what All-Star games have turned into.
Yeah, I think, like, Super Bowl still has like some appeal, like, but I mean, the average fan is priced out of it. The average fan is priced out of most things, if we're being like very realistic. But especially out of the Super Bowl, like, good luck. You really have to squirrel away money if you want to make that trip. But yeah, I just think in general, I don't know how you fix it, but I'm not interested in finding a solution because I just, like I said, I don't think I'm interested in watching All-Star stuff anymore. I think I'm done. I think that I'm totally checked out.
It's kind of just that mid-season marker that everybody associates.
It's not even mid-season. There's
Right.
20 games left. Like, like.
Well, if we go by the justification that the NBA season doesn't start till Christmas.
Very true.
But yeah, I mean, that happens, and then we also got a Sixers courtesy call once again. I was having flashbacks of us being down here in 2018 when it came to LeBron. We got the courtesy talk with Kevin Love before he said, "Hey guys, I'm going to the Heat."
Yeah.
What was the point of that?
I have no idea. They'll get him on their very legal health and training regimen that is totally not steroids. They totally don't do HGH. If they don't have the A-Rod doctor helping them out.
No, it's just Jimmy Butler's coffee.
No, it's totally cool, totally legal, all of it. Yeah, he would have been a nice backup to have. I think I would definitely prefer him to Dwayne Dedmon, and I'm just not thrilled with the Sixers as we turn the page and start looking. And they also have like just an absolutely like disgusting schedule the rest of the way. So it is you remember that like week and a half where it felt good about this team, and it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I setting myself up for pain? And I let my guard come down just a little bit, and even now I'm like, that was so foolish of me. Why do I believe in this team? Why do I believe in them to do good things? I don't know.
I saw a lot of people too, and it would just be pure, unadulterated, just like sickoness, because the Hawks fired their coach, and I saw bunches of people say, "Can I interest you in one Glenn Doc Rivers?"
He used to play for Atlanta, so it's a homecoming. So why not? Let's make that happen, please, begging you. I would personally drive Doc Rivers to Atlanta myself right now. Like, if someone called me right now, I was like, "Hey, if you can get down to Atlanta by like tomorrow afternoon, like that's the thing."
We're bringing an army.
I'm doing that. I'm driving overnight. I am slapping Red Bulls into my lungs. I'm making sure that I am awake and alert so that I can drive the 14, 15 hours, whatever it is, to make sure Doc Rivers is in Atlanta. I would do that. Not because I love the Sixers, because I hate him so much.
Yeah.
Like, it is not in the aim of liberation. The aim of just like, I want this guy just away from the team.
And that's the thing. Like, when we look at every other team that we hyper focus on, whether it's the Eagles, the Phillies, or the Union, they have a coach or manager leading the team that you have trust and faith in them doing the right things.
Yeah.
Doc Rivers, it's like, cool, you won Coach of the Month in January, which since the process era, the Sixers have been the January team. It does nothing in terms of just boosting your confidence in Doc Rivers, because as soon as the calendar turned, things have gone back to just being, the up and down roller coaster that we've come to know this Sixers team to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's been something all year that I've struggled with, is like, how invested do you get in this team when you know that they get to the playoffs and just like rip your heart out? Like, and now, like, the odds of them getting the 1 seed too are very low, and I think that's the only realistic path this team has to like a conference finals appearance, knowing that you're going to have to match up with one of Milwaukee or Boston in the second round. I don't love either of those matchups for the Sixers. They just haven't shown an ability to like win a big playoff series, and that's super frustrating. So it's tough, like when you see them like performing well in the regular season, and they go on these runs, and you want to get excited. I mean, you have Embiid, but when you have a coach that's just shown time and time again to be completely incapable, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, how am I supposed to reconcile that?
You can't. And it's just like the definition of insanity. And we did the same shit with players on this team. It was like, how many times can we try to like talk ourselves into this guy being the type of player we think he is when he's just truly not? And it's how many times can, fans of the Sixers talk themselves into Doc Rivers being able to be the competent coach that the front office thinks he is, but he's clearly not. And we've made the comparison tons of times. He's the Joe Girardi of basketball. Everyone clinches onto this 2008 title that he won with the Celtics that, quite frankly, look at the players on that team. No fucking shit they won a title.
When you say everyone, you mean the 08 Celtics really hang on to that title. Like, that is the most vocal title-winning team of any sport in my lifetime. Like, I've never stopped hearing about the 2008 Celtics team. You would think that they were as good as the Golden State Warriors of like from like 2013 to 18, like, perennially just like destroying teams and so good and all this. Like, they won 1 title. They went to some finals. It was a good team. They had some great matchups. Brooklyn. I just am exhausted by it. Here's the Sixers schedule coming out of the All-Star break, by the way. Got the Grizzlies, Celtics, Heat, all at home, and then you're away at the Heat, at the Mavs, at the Bucks, at the Pacers, Timberwolves. That's not like already. You're looking at a pretty tough row. In March, you've got the Warriors, Suns, Nuggets, all on the road, all part of a road trip. Then the Mavs at home. Then you're at the Bucks, Celtics, Heat, Hawks, Nets to close out the season. So I don't know. I don't love that. I don't love the that end of schedule. I don't know what to do with this team. Bucks have won 12 straight. Feels like a team that's just peaking at the right time. I don't know.
Man. Yeah.
And then you get the nonsense with the MVP poll being released last week, and Jokic has 77 first place votes. Giannis, I think, has 11 or 12. Embiid with 6. That's just an extra kick in the balls. Like the last 3 years you've watched Embiid play at clearly an MVP level, deserving of it, and it's gonna 3 straight years we're gonna have Nikola Jokic as our
literally
as our
like defining valuable, because without Embiid this team is not even in the playoffs.
Yeah, I truly believe that Jokic is a better supporting cast. Everyone loves to pretend like the Nuggets are this like poverty franchise outside of Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have just a great supporting cast around him. Like, and that's not to say that Embiid doesn't have some stars next to me. Like, he has Harden, Maxey, and those are great like second option, third option guys. And like Tobias is not terrible. Like, you've got some looks, but like that's it. Like, the Nuggets have a good team. I don't know why
the Nuggets had the
people have a tendency to like really like play down the talent that is around Jokic, and I think that's like, if I'm Jamal Murray, I'm pissed. Like,
yeah,
like hearing constantly about how Jokic is like carrying the team constantly. Like, come on, let's not.
Like, the Nuggets had the opportunity to like openly be like, yeah, we're gonna trade one of our young players still on a rookie contract.
Yeah,
the Sixers, if they did that, like the Simpsons angry mob would be outside of the facility in Camden, because there's just no way you can do that. And like, it's insane. Did you see Nick Young's tweet the other day?
I did not. I think I have him muted on Twitter.
Let me pull this up. He was getting cooked in the quote retweets in the comments, but I was like, he's kind of putting something out there that
Hold up, let him cook.
let him cook. Let me find his Twitter. Here it is. It was pretty funny because he was talking about Russ and he was talking about Jokic. He said, "Why is when Russ was averaging a triple-double 3 straight years, it was a problem. He was stat padding, but Joker does it and he could win his third MVP. They do the same stuff every year, have great stats, great regular season, and get they ass whooped in the playoffs, but no criticism."
Yeah,
I was like, he's got a point.
Again, I think like people have really attached Jokic to this idea. Like last year, and like Jamal Murray gets hurt in the year before, and like not having him, like I get it. Like in the playoffs, it's obviously like it's challenging, and we've seen that with Embiid, right? Like winning with a big man is already hard. Like it's not a simple task. But yeah, I think he's given a lot more runway than Embiid does, and like I think it's crazy. Like if I'm a Bucks fan too, I'm pissed. Like Giannis is like one of the most effective players on both sides of the ball, and you're telling me like Nikola Jokic is like he is not 77 to like 11 votes better. Like he is not. Like I think it's ridiculous that he's like the runaway MVP favorite. I don't understand it. Like I really don't think there's that much separating these three. My personal vote would be for Embiid. I would put Embiid, Giannis, Jokic. Like that's my like top 3 personally, but I just think it's absolutely ludicrous that we're gonna like watch Jokic win an MVP again, and it's like, okay. I don't understand that. And if I'm a Bucks fan, I'm like even more pissed. I think if I'm a Bucks, I'm truly like, this is stupid. Like, because their argument is like, Embiid and fucking Jokic have both sucked in the playoffs, have both not done shit. Giannis has carried us to a title, 50 points in a finals game. It's like Jokic and Embiid have never done. You're like, that's it's just insane to me. It's so insane.
And I mean, we've talked about it a ton. Like the guidelines for MVP voting across the board in like every sport need to be reevaluated.
There's people that didn't even have Giannis in their top 5. Like, why do those people have a vote? And like, it's not even just like, I'm trying to like pearl clutch, but it's contract incentives are tied to this stuff. So if you're gonna have a vote, like, I'm sorry, but like, you need to actually like take some care and have some tact with that vote, not leave off someone who's very obviously one of the 3 best players in basketball, certainly within your top 5 in Giannis, and like leave him out of that vote. That's just so stupid. Now that's not their actual vote, that's just the poll or whatever, but that's also happened in years past where like guys, like random dudes are getting like MVP votes. It's like, what are we doing? Why is Russell Westbrook getting MVP votes last year? Like, what is happening?
It's that, and it's like sometimes you feel like more than half these people voting for these awards and everything aren't even watching the games. Like they're simply just going off of name value and what they're seeing on social media or whatever, and just like, oh yep, I don't have to do any work. We have these social media, stat nerds doing everything for me. I'm just gonna read this, and that's what I'm gonna base my vote on, so I don't have to watch the games. Yeah,
I don't know. Very frustrating.
It sucks. But yeah, the Sixers are Sixering. But spring has sprung, Matt, and it's brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer of Underground Sports Philadelphia. They're going to be part of our live tailgate podcast series this baseball season. And you guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use that all new and improved Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You can also get it if you're in Eastern Pennsylvania, that Philadelphia area. You can get it at your local Home Goods, your local liquor store. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. Matt, the young flamethrowers, if you will, are living together this spring, and it's just a dream come true that the Phillies have young arms that they have developed, drafted, and are on the come up.
Rare. Can't wait to see.
First in our lifetime.
Can't wait to see how it goes wrong. Yeah, it's definitely a different pathway. It's definitely like a different mode of like building a team than the Phillies have had, certainly within like the last 6 or 7 years. But yeah, they've never really had a homegrown like pitching talent like pipeline like you see with a lot of teams. Largely speaking, the Phillies have had like once every 10 years they might get like a high level starter, an ace or something like that. But there's some organizations that we've lamented over the years that seem to just be able to print these guys, and I just don't understand it. Cleveland, Tampa Bay, like Atlanta, like Atlanta is like the king of that, and then also signing them to like $70 or $30 million, like
hockey contracts.
So
the Mets have even done it. Like,
yeah, we just have not figured out that sauce. Maybe this is the turnaround. I think they've made some better decisions in the last 2 or 3 years in terms of like personnel, like coaching, scouting, GM, drafting. They've definitely taken, I think, probably what I would imagine is the smarter way of going about this. So yeah, it's nice to be walking into spring training with some guys that you haven't seen before and have a lot of hype around them. Like that's what spring training is all about, is having like 3 or 4 guys that you can kind of attach some hope to.
Yeah, and I mean, the videos coming out of spring training are just fantastic. And, like, everyone has, rightfully so, questioned if the Phillies were just, a flash-in-the-pan, one-and-done type of thing last year where they got hot at the right time and made their way to the World Series. I feel like this team's mindset is, like, that left them just, like, hungry for more and just craving more. And, like, you saw all last postseason, like, the Phillies had, like, a 1.1% chance to get to, the next round of the playoffs and then get to the World Series. They were the lowest on the totem pole. And I think this team, like, took that. They went full Jordan beam and took that personally. And you're seeing it again. Like, everyone is, like, discounting the Phillies. Like, I think it was Codify or Fangraphs put out their chances to make the postseason. And, like, multiple teams that had no business being in front of the Phillies in terms of just talent-wise were ahead of them by, like, leaps and bounds, and they had the Phillies at, like, a 55% chance to make the playoffs. And I'm like, I get Bryce Harper's not going to be around for the first 70 games or so, but across the board, even without Bryce, this team got better.
Yeah, I think 55 is pretty harsh. It's not an easy division, of course.
Right.
Like that's always going to factor into it, but we missed quite a significant chunk of Bryce last season, and we're able to eventually make the playoffs on like the second to last day of the season. But you expect that this team is just as good as last year. You would imagine, if not better. And so I think 55% is a little harsh. I would say like high 60s, because like anything can go wrong in baseball. And again, if the division really is as competitive as it was last year, but I think we talked about this so much too. Like, if you cut out those first 2 months, just what a different team it is once Girardi is gone, and I think that has to count for something as well. I just wonder if that's maybe not. I don't know. I trust Fangraphs, but I don't think that's a totally accurate representation. Like, I don't think this Phillies season is a coin flip for me. Because that's really what that ultimately is.
And like, we kind of have more definition of some of the guys on this team. Like, we now know Ranger Suarez is a dude. Like, the last couple of years, it was like, can he be a guy in this rotation? Is he like a number 4? He's like a solidified number 3 starter in this rotation. Like, you bring in Taijuan Walker, that's going to help lengthen the rotation quite a bit. And then you sign Trey Turner. I feel like so many people are forgetting that Trey Turner signed with the Phillies.
Yes.
And like the upgrade that's going to be defensively for this infield at the top of the lineup. Like, you're not going to have to hit Kyle Schwarber first anymore. Trey Turner can kind of be a table setter, which I feel like the Phillies have not had a table setting, leadoff hitter since Jimmy Rollins.
Right. Leadoff spot has been like a constant source. Even like last year, like was not a solidified position, for most of the regular season. It was not something that this team had really nailed down. So
to have that, and then you can move Schwarber down in the lineup and allow his bat to drive more runs in when you have more guys on base is going to be so valuable for this team. I was thinking about this the other day because I was scrolling through the rosters for the World Baseball Classic, and you have the Premier League, Champions League, kind of mindset. How much do you think the guys playing in the World Baseball Classic, will it help / hurt them this season?
I think it's tough to say because spring training is already not super taxing on players. And so I wonder if like being in a much more competitive environment might do something for you physically and mentally. But that I think that could very much swing either way. I mean, you're seeing it in soccer too because they had a mid-season World Cup, which is just like such a bizarre
Right.
that's never happened. Normally, it's in June, which is like after the completion of the season. So you had this like month and a half layoff where not everyone plays in the World Cup either. So you had like some players just sort of loafing around, training with the team and whatever. But then you had some guys come back a little early, depending when they get knocked out. And it's like hard to track because some players have like come back from the World Cup and were playing poorly before and are now in like red hot form.
Mm-hmm.
Like Marcus Rashford did not have a great start to the season, but since then has scored like 19 out of his last 20 games. Scored a goal. Where some guys, it feels like maybe they've trailed off a little bit post World Cup. So I don't know. I think it's very hard to say. I do think ultimately I would side on like being in high level competition is probably better for them. And baseball players know better than most other sports how to like manage like the day in day out and constantly being rotated and finding those times for rest. But yeah, I would imagine as a player you'd be excited for it too, and it would probably put you in a sort of I just feel like April and it feels like October is so far away, it can feel maybe hard to get super motivated, after like the first like week or two of the season where it just becomes a grind and you're so much in the routine. I think maybe coming off the back of something exciting like a deep run in the World Baseball Classic might reinvigorate you in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the full list of players that will be playing in the World Baseball Classic, but it's a lot more than I had realized, obviously, because, when you look at it, you're always looking at Team USA, which is Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and JT Realmuto, but Garrett Stubbs is playing for Team Israel. Taijuan Walker is pitching for Team Mexico. Alvarado is pitching. Ranger Suarez is pitching. And I want to say there's one other person as well playing in the World Baseball Classic for the Phils. But I mean, it's one of those things that it's been so long too since we've had the World Baseball Classic that it's like you don't know how much it's going to affect the players, and I think I tend to agree with you with like how it will help the guys being in that competitive mode early on and kind of hopefully carry into the regular season for Major League Baseball. Gregory Soto is pitching for the Dominican Republic, who we just traded for from the Tigers earlier this offseason. Garrett Stubbs for Team Israel, Taijuan Walker, JT, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and then Ranger Suarez and Alvarado are for Team Venezuela.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's 8 Phillies, no Bryce Harper, and then Destiny Lugardo put an article out on Phillies Nation that the Phillies are going to be trying Edmundo Sosa in center field, too. It's kind of like the right-handed platoon-ish type of player with Brandon Marsh. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, I mean, he had some bright moments,
yeah.
especially in like the last third of the season. Had some moments in the playoffs, too, that make you wonder about him. And again, Brandon Marsh, despite his looks, is like one of the youngest players on the team. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like some of these guys on the margins either how they develop this year and some of the young guys we've talked about, because there's going to be some gaps to fill this season, especially like when you're talking about Bryce, but even, just guys with the World Baseball Classic, you don't know what kind of like rest they might be getting, the first few weeks of the season. And I think in general too, like this team, you're going to have to use a lot of guys because of how strong this division is and how I think you're going to have to play those division games a little more like playoff games this year. I think you're going to have to play, and that means you're going to have to depend on some of these rotation guys to really pick up the slack in other series, in other games, and that's going to be crucial.
Yeah, and I think that's going to play more with these 3 young guys, with McGarry, with Painter, and Mick Abel, too. Like, the fact that Ranger Suarez and Taijuan Walker aren't going to be in camp for, pretty much the entire spring training period because they're going to leave. I think the World Baseball Classic guys that are playing in the U.S. Leave on like March 6th to March 8th to report to their country's camps. But then you're not going to have two of your rotation guys. Who knows how much you want to pitch Wheeler and Nola in spring training to begin with because of the just amount of taxing amount of innings that they pitched last season and into the postseason, as deep as they went. So I think if there's ever been a spring training to be excited about pitching wise, it's going to be this one, because I think you're going to see a lot of the big three.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge opportunity for them as well. Everything you just said, especially Nola and Wheeler, I think their innings are going to have to be managed a little more closely this season too. Like we really burned through a lot of good innings with both of them, and I don't think that they're now out of gas or whatever. But
Right.
I just think I think Wheeler pitched historic amounts the season before, and then last year struggled with injury a little bit. We don't know how much of that is based off fatigue or whatever, but you want to be a little more careful. Both of them you could see especially in the World Series, they were not throwing their best stuff. They were probably at 85%, which was still good pitching.
Yeah.
But, I think you want to have a more close control on them this year and making sure that they're healthy going to the playoffs, because that's where this team's goals are too. Is being a playoff team again and having a run similar to that last year. I think you start that by making sure these guys are not pitching as much as they were.
And if you want to get to that point, you're going to have to manage that. And does that mean we see Andrew Painter, during the regular season? Do you go to a 6-man rotation in April and May to kind of just alleviate some of the early season innings and everything like that? It wouldn't shock me. But we'll see what happens with that. And then our guy, Nick Castellanos, broke the internet the other day.
Yeah.
Ultimate hype video, perfect song selection. J. Cole's Get Off My Dick. I think we're underestimating too. If Castellanos has a bounce back year, and him talking about how he's much more comfortable, and we talked about it so much last year on this show. We'll have to go back and find that. We talked about how he signed late in free agency. He's looking for a place to live. Ultimately find out his wife is pregnant with their second child. He's getting acclimated to a new city. He dealt with injuries throughout the entire season and gets thrust into a position that ultimately, I'm sure when he signed here, it was yo, you're going to be the DH.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of compounding factors last season. Bryce's injury, I think, is the thorn in this team's side for so much of last year with a lot of the problems, because it locked them into having to play him as DH, right? You didn't have any other option, because we saw in the first part of the season those guys rotating, and it was a little more interesting, but that flexibility went away when he couldn't throw a baseball anymore. And yeah, I think people forget too, Castellanos, he got injured in August, right, or July, and he was out for and it was an injury that kind of kept getting delayed.
And then he got injured late in the year too with that.
It was a shoulder,
and then into his side.
Yeah,
and everything.
it was something that it was originally back in whatever, it was 10 days, and then it was we're gonna reevaluate, and it just kept kind of extending and extending, which makes me think maybe there was just a little bit more there. There was getting to a point too where we weren't sure we were gonna see him in the regular season, because it just kind of kept going and going. But yeah, I think too, the Phillies probably expected to get more production out of him last year. It didn't happen for whatever reasons. And I think too, it was funny because he mentioned the playoffs. I mean, he was one of the big defensive performers in the playoffs too. He had
in every round.
He had a huge, just massive game-winning play a lot of times. And he said yeah, it's just hard for me to fucking care in May. Which, what? Fair. So I wonder if maybe if he's able to lock in a little bit more. Maybe if that changes. I don't know, but I just think it's hard to say that last year's how we're gonna see his entire Phillies career. I have to think that that's a little bit of an outlier. But his season before, I think, is also a little bit of an outlier. He's definitely somewhere in between those two things. He's certainly not, the player that he was last year in terms of struggling at the plate, struggling for power.
Yeah, I think he's much closer to the player he was in Cincinnati.
Absolutely, yeah.
He was last year.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if we take that for what it is, and if he's even 80% of the player he was, 2 years ago in Cincinnati, that's ultimately another free agent signing for this team, with production value and what you're going to be asking of him. With Bryce Harper out for the first half of this year, you're going to be seeing a lot of Nick probably in right field, platooning probably with, the likes of Josh Harrison. So, I mean, if you get that production from him in the lineup hitting 5th or 6th in this lineup, that's an ultimate win for this Phillies lineup, hitting-wise, and then if he just continues, to be locked in the outfield defensively like he was in the postseason, like, sure, you're missing Bryce Harper's defense, but, like, the way Nick played in the postseason was one of the highlights, I think, of that entire run.
Yeah, whatever mental state we can get him to lock in to be like that for the whole year, he might be MVP.
Yeah. So, I mean...
certainly Gold Glove candidate.
So hopefully, things are good. And, I mean, he's been very vocal about how last year he wasn't comfortable. He's talked about, his wife being pregnant and him not really being to be around for it kind of affected him mentally too. And I think that would affect any normal human being. And I think that's one of the things that, like, people being as harsh as they were on him last year, it's like kind of take a step back and realize that, like, hey, athletes are human.
Yeah, I think we lose sight of that a lot, that these people have, like, real concerns and, like, family stuff outside of just, like, playing whatever sport it is. I think we lose sight a lot of times that the things, like, going on. Think of, like, when something stressful is happening to you in your life and you go to work, like, you're probably not doing your best work.
Exactly.
Like, it's just, I think, probably do well to keep that in mind a lot of times.
So hopefully Nicky C has the bounce back that we know he's capable of, and I'm sure we will see this season. We also have the Philadelphia Union, Matt.
Yeah.
They are #back.
Yeah, season starts back up this weekend. Play the Crew, evening game. It's going to be a cold one if you are going to the game. Looking forward to it. Like, this team is obviously, like we said, brought back a lot of the starting 11 from last year. And, you can expect that that's going to hopefully bring similar results in terms of maybe not just making the final this year, but actually winning it. Yeah, it's exciting. I think I'm really looking forward to this season. And the MLS revealed a new playoff format, which I'm, like, not in love with. But, I think in general I'm looking forward to this year for the Union, because I think this team is very strong. And I don't see a lot of ways that they should necessarily regress.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week too, like the fact that you're going to have a full season of this forward group too that didn't really get assembled until halfway through the year last year when you bring in Carranza and you kind of get that chemistry going for half a year. It's going to be exciting to have that for an entire season. And then, like we've mentioned time and time again, like Jim Curtin, arguably not only best coach in this city, but, like, arguably best coach in all of MLS.
Yeah. I think he's great, and I think there's maybe a little bit of unfinished business, and we've talked about they've kind of been doing the reverse Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
And the Phillies went from World Series to World Series appearance to NLCS appearance to, they've kind of worked their way up to now, losing in the MLS Cup final, but now hopefully this year, this is the year that they actually host the trophy. Yeah, this year, like, the number one seed doesn't get that bye. There's now a best of 3 series to start out. So 1 through 9 make the playoffs. 8 and 9 play a wild card to get into the playoffs. So then it is you have to win 2 out of 3 to advance to that next round. So, like, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. How we're used to that breakdown. But then it is single game elimination from there. I don't know why they're doing this. I think it's absolutely stupid.
That seems brutal.
It's okay, so, like, in soccer, it's not uncommon. Like, right now I'm watching the Champions League as we're recording this. This is called a 2-leg tie. There you play 2 games. It used to be that the tiebreaker for this was away goal rules. Away goals is effectively counted as double. They got rid of that. So now it's just if the score is tied after both games, then you go to extra time, then you go to penalties to settle it up. That is the much more natural way to do this. Like, 2 out of 3 is just strange. And then to only do it for 1 round, I don't get it. And to me personally, it diminishes the regular season to where it's not a ton of advantages here to, having that first round bye is nice, and sort of just having a simpler path is, to me, I think much better. So.
And it's just earned.
Yes.
We talked about that with, we clowned on all the baseball writers last year. It's like, you earn what you get in with, and you just play with what you get. It doesn't mean just because you're the 1 seed, you get to just win the trophy. But if you get that 1 seed, like, you earn that spot, and then you just have to manage with what, you're given. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I think like number 1 seeds in general should have that should give you a little advantage. Like, you were the best team in your conference over the course of the entire year, from February to October. Like, I think that, to me, that's deserving of a little more than just getting to host game 1 and a potential game 3. Like, yeah. I just think I don't know.
I don't hate the wild card thing though.
I don't mind the wild card. Like, I personally, I don't hate necessarily expanding the playoffs. However, I also think, so like, it was 1 through 7 made the playoffs because you would the 1 seed didn't play the first week, but also, like, over half the league now is making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's just hard to say sometimes, like, what the middle ground is. But when you have 18 teams, technically it cuts down after the wild card weekend to 16. But it feels like a lot in a league that is still finding its, like, footing. And I don't know. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I just personally don't love it.
Yeah, that is brutal. Not too big of a fan of that. I was looking at the calendar map. Next week, we're back. Survivor is back next week. It's a little Survivor buffs and snuffs talk for the people, brought to you by our friends over at W Energy. W's been keeping our entire company going with their clean, new, effective energy that has no crash, no jitters. It's all natural. There's no sugars, no calories, no maltodextrin fillers, no artificial colors, and they're doing it the right way because they want the quality of their product to supersede the payout and just the cash grab that these big energy companies are giving you. They're the best in the game, and they're working to make it the stigma around energy drinks and everything to not be this negative, and they want it to be where you are getting clean, healthy energy, along with their patented neurofactor that is in all of their formulas, which has helped improve brain performance by up to 143%. You guys can go to war on big energy with us by going to w.gg and use code UNDERGROUND. You get 10% off any and all orders. Right now, most of their flavors are in pre-order form because they are working on getting their product in retail stores. But the restock should be happening by the end of this month and into early March. So if you place a pre-order, you'll be first on the list to get your product when it's ready to ship out. So go to w.gg and use code UNDERGROUND and start going to war on big energy and clean up the energy game with W. Feels like Survivor just ended, but also it feels like it's been forever.
Feels like forever, just because so much has happened.
Yes,
between then, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really haven't done the research on who's playing. I think there's a firefighter again.
That's good for the algorithm.
Yeah, so already I'm gravitating towards that person, but yeah.
And I know we have another former NFL athlete.
Yes.
Who played for the Seahawks, playing this season. Pulling up the cast list here.
I remember the previews for last year that, like, seemed like a few people get hurt in this.
Yeah, they got very.
I don't love. And why is CBS still not doing the cast list?
Yeah,
it's still,
can we update that, please?
I don't understand that.
Here, I don't know why it's lagging us out there, but I'll pull it up on my phone here. But yeah, I don't know why CBS hasn't updated that. Can we get that fixed, Jeff?
Yeah.
Survivor 44. So here we go. The cast revealed. So it's another 18 contestants this season. We've got a tech investor from Brooklyn, New York, Claire Raffson. She's 25.
She lost it all in crypto. She's got to get it back.
Let's see here. Her pet peeves, people who lack self-awareness. Honestly, you can do whatever you want as long as you recognize it and own it. Then we've got Matt Blankenship, which is not how I would expect to spell Blankenship. He is a 27-year-old security software engineer from San Francisco, California. We've got Carolyn Weiger from Hugo, Minnesota. She's a drug counselor. We've got Yamil Yam Yam Arocho from San Juan, Puerto Rico. He's a salon owner. We've got Lauren Harp from Mont Belvieu, Texas. She's 31. She's an elementary school teacher. Danny Massa. He is the New York City firefighter from the Bronx.
Like it. I'm interested. Ticks a lot of boxes for me.
We have another player. We have multiple Puerto Rico players this year. Heidi Lagares Greenblatt from Ponce, Puerto Rico, currently lives in Pittsburgh. She's an engineering manager. We have Carson Garrett, who is 20 years old, from Atlanta. He's a NASA engineering student. We've got Maddie Pomilla from Brooklyn, New York. She's a charity projects manager. We've got Bruce Perrault from Warwick, Rhode Island. He's an insurance agent. Sarah Wade from Chicago is a management consultant. Matthew Grinstead Mail from Columbus, Ohio, who's a barbershop owner. Helen Lee from San Francisco is a product manager. Josh Wilder from Atlanta, he's a surgical podiatrist. Jamie Lynn Ruiz from Mesa, Arizona. Her occupation, she's a yogi.
Sounds good. There's a lot of money in the yogi business.
Kane Fritzler, we've got from Saskatoon, Canada. He's a law student.
I know there's the first Puerto Rican player this season as well. So
that is Yam Yam.
Yeah.
And then we've got Franny Marin from Cambridge, Massachusetts, as a research coordinator. Brandon Cottom from Newtown, Pennsylvania, and I believe he was the former Seattle Seahawk. Pennsylvania, though. And that's the cast.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Last season, I think, had some good moments. I think the last few seasons have been overall pretty good. Some weird twists and stuff in there, but overall, I think fair. It's been hard to predict the winners too, though. Like the last three seasons that we've done this, a lot of times it's felt like people that I don't think can win. So whoever it is this year that I'm like, I'm not sure about this, but that is my winner pick actually.
We've at least gotten to the jury.
Yeah.
If not, the first two seasons we've done predictions, we got the runner-up. My thing is I'm hoping Brandon Cottom is a Danny type.
Yeah.
To kind of put because some of the athletes that go on, they're not that great. But I think Danny from season 41 helped flip the script on that a little bit. So we'll see how Brandon Cottom performs. But
I think being like an insane athlete just doesn't help you as much anymore. Like the challenges are a lot less like physically demanding, but like in a different way. It's more like balance and mobility and like hand-eye coordination rather than like there's obviously tough ones, especially like the team challenges.
Yeah.
Like definitely having someone who's like strong and fast definitely helps. But when you're talking about like the individual challenges, it's a lot of times just being able to like endure things and like go through pain and like solve puzzles. Like I don't know. I just think challenges are a little more complex now.
Yeah, so we'll see what all goes down with Survivor Season 44. We'll be back covering that week by week on the show, so stay tuned for that. Follow at Buffs and Snuffs on Twitter. And that's all we got for you guys this week. Make sure you're following us on all the socials at UndergroundPHI on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/UndergroundSportsPHI. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help the show continue to grow. Saw a big uptick in numbers the last couple of weeks. Shout out to the Birds. Hopefully, you guys stick around for more content as we head into the spring and the summer with the Phils and, whatever the hell the Sixers decide to do. And, of course, the Philadelphia Union as well. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. That's where you get full video episodes of every podcast on our network. You get full, clips, interviews, shorts, original content, live streams. It's all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. Get us to 400 subscribers by the end of February. We're 12 away. Let's make that happen. And big thank you to our sponsors who make this show happen: Main Auto LLC, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, and the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland. And, of course, our amazing merch partners over at PHI Apparel Company. Go get your merch. Stock up on all your Underground Sports Philadelphia merch. And use code UNDERGROUND when you go to phiapparel.co. And you get 10% off any and all merch orders. And then, of course, tag us when you get your merch. We want to see where you're rocking your merch from, wherever you may be. But this has been episode number 510 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. From Matt, KB. Till next time, we are signing off. Peace.